Hello, my fellow gamers. How's it going? This is your friendly neighborhood Venger Satanis with the smooth jazz sounds of Chalt. Um, how was that for an introduction? Okay, so this video, let's get right into it. It occurred to me just now in the shower, just got out, as I probably get about 15% of my worthwhile ideas when I'm in the shower or the bathroom or whatever. Just kind of like being forced not to do anything, but my mind's still going and I'm still thinking about like games and gaming and whatnot. So it suddenly occurred to me that asking players who their character, what celebrity their character resembles, seems like an awfully good idea. So good that I'm surprised that either A, I don't hear about it more often around the internet, and B, I haven't thought of it or started doing it myself. Because the trouble is, if you don't have anything, then everyone at the table has to like force their imagination to think of what character A looks like. They might hear a description of like the clothing, and maybe his face is weathered, or he's got tattoos, or like some little descriptive detail, which I appreciate. But like the face and everything else that goes into what a person looks like, their appearance, everything else is left up to the imagination. And if you're like me, unless you're like confronted with it, like slapped with it, like, oh, my character looks like this. Um, my imagination is kind of in reserve, or it's already thinking about something else, or like anything, if you don't have to use it and it's not served upon a platter for you, a lot of times you just kind of gloss over it or ignore it. Save time, save energy. The imagination can be lazy, just like any part of us. And so, what's the alternative? You can either, as a game master, provide, uh, headshots, mugshots, photos of what um, the players can pick for their character to look like. So as a GM, you can bring like a dozen, 50, 100. Um, I don't know, little cards or sheets of paper or things you cut out of a magazine or screenshots, whatever you printed off the internet, and then let players like kind of decide or pick them out. Which you could do that. That's a lot of game master responsibility and a lot of prep and time, energy, and possibly expense, depending on how far you want to go to make it look nice, and feel nice for the player. If you gave them something like laminated, that's obviously going to cost you a lot more than if you just tore a page out of a magazine and handed it to the player. Or you could ask each player to bring their own physical representation of their character's appearance. But that's tricky too, because a player might not know what his character is going to be until right before the game, or maybe during the game, if their character dies, and they have to like roll up or just decide on a new one. And B, that's putting a lot. I know they only have to remember for like one or possibly two, or if you're playing like a funnel meat grinder, maybe three or four. But that's still a lot to put on the player, because as we all know, quite a few players are casual players, and sometimes they flake out. Sometimes we're lucky if they even show up and like play their A game. But asking them to like do other stuff on top of that, that's a little much, especially if you're running games like one shots like I do, like over and over again with new people. Sometimes they're the same, sometimes they're new. Sometimes those same players are playing different characters. So it just strikes me. So both of those ideas are like kind of laborious, kind of prone to not turning out, unless you put a lot of work and effort into it. But just asking quickly at the table when a player has presented their character, or they're talking about him or her, just asking, well, what celebrity does your character look like? That seems to clear up an awful lot. Because for one, that player can visualize, the celebrity that they're talking about. So that's good right there, because they're now. Because sometimes even you don't visualize your own character, like the facial structure or like exactly what they look like. Like I might be like, if I'm playing a character like a young, brash fighter warrior type with a sword and like a grimace or snarl, but that doesn't really tell me what he looks like. So it's good for the player because then they can visualize their own character, and they can think of some celebrity. I mean, everybody knows some person that's kind of or really famous that's not themselves or people around them. And there's a good chance that someone else at the table listening will also know who that celebrity is. Or at the very least, someone can pull out their phone and just Google, like let's say someone didn't know who Nicolas Cage was, for instance. I don't know how that happens, but let's say it's true. You just pull out your phone, Google Nicolas Cage, then boom, you got like a dozen pictures right there, and you can show that person like, my character resembles this. And then everybody at the table will be like, oh, okay, so you're a sorcerer who worships the old ones and dabbles in black magic, etc., etc. Looks like Nicolas Cage. And then you can narrow it down for like movie or time period. Like, is it old Nicolas Cage? Is it young Nicolas Cage? You can decide that for yourself and find the exact picture you want just by Googling it. That seems, it's not a perfect solution, but it just seems like of all the possibilities, like a real winner and a time saver and an energy saver. And I'm sure there's better ideas or better ways of doing it out there, but just for an unprepared, easy, quick, no nonsense solution, that seems like extraordinarily great. It seems like an extraordinarily great option to do. I'm thinking about it now. I can't think of anything better. But tell me, have you ever done that in your games? Do you know anybody that's done that? I'm trying to think of a downside too, because almost everything has pros and cons. The biggest con I can think of is someone doesn't around the table doesn't know what that celebrity looks like. But then, like, someone will have a phone. I mean, unless you're watching this in post-apocalyptic times, and there are no more phones, but then there's probably no more YouTube. So how are you even watching this, right? Yeah, I can't see a downside. I think, like I said, this is probably not the most perfect solution for everybody, but as the second placeholder, uh, I think it's pretty awesome. And like I said, I can't believe I haven't done this before. Because I tell artists too, like someone, I'll describe basically what I want the artwork to look like. Like I want two fighters, like on either side of a wizard who's like casting fireballs, and maybe there's a dragon behind them, and that's what I want. And then the artist will usually say like, oh, what do you want the characters to look like? And obviously I'm not just gonna like type in like a physical description. I will go find an image of most likely a celebrity online, and then I'll send that to the artist. I'll attach it to an email and say this. I want one of the fighters to look like Julian Sands. I want the wizard to look like Jeffrey Combs. I want the other fighter to look like Emma Thompson, and that's it. Make the artwork. So yeah, why can't you do that with going around the table when players introduce their characters? You just say, I'm going to do this next time. I will be asking, like, oh, what what celebrity does your character resemble? Oh my god! And then they'll come up with something, and then boom, I can visualize that. Everyone around the table can visualize that. I suppose the only downside I can think of is knowing that it's hard for you to scrub that out and imagine a different face or different look for a certain character, whether it's your own or someone else's. So it kind of like forces its way into your mind. So it's hard to like take that back or erase it mentally. The only other possible downside, now that I'm thinking about it out loud, is if someone shows something just so dumb that it detracted from the game somehow. Like if you're playing a game and you don't want any humor or any comedy, it's very serious. Maybe it's some sort of grim, dark fantasy, or I don't know, something where you don't want people laughing, and someone shows something that was obviously ridiculous, or maybe unintentionally ridiculous, and people just, I don't know, snickered or couldn't take it seriously. Maybe they can't take the way the character looks seriously, and so they can't take that character seriously, and then therefore they can't take the game seriously. I suppose that could be a downside. But the game master could just say, like, pick something else, or any celebrity that isn't like stupid or ridiculous. Um, if you were, yeah, I mean, I was trying to think of an example. Maybe if you're playing like a Han Solo, like mercenary of the stars, space opera swashbuckler with a laser pistol, and you wanted him to look like the guy from Fantasy Island, the little guy, the plane. Um, Villahausen. I used to know that guy's name. I can't think of it now. I guess maybe you'd be like, well, that's weird. That takes me out of the game world. I mean, if I would find that ridiculous, I actually think that's cool. That would be a cool look. I would play that character. But I guess to someone else, maybe it's stupid, but that's kind of their problem, right? And for me, I'm not too worried about that because I don't play super serious games. I play games where I like humor and I like comedy and I like people laughing. If like a third of the time that we're playing we're laughing, that's probably the best time ever, and I would love that. So that wouldn't be a problem for me. So I really can't think of anything. But I want to hear from you. If you can think of another reason why it's awesome, a reason why it would suck, why it's not workable. If you have any experience in this, definitely let me know. If you've done this before, if you know other great groups that have done it, maybe you played at a table as a guest in someone else's home or at a convention, and they did that, or you heard about it, comment. Let me know. This video is already way too fucking long. It's 14 minutes. Okay. Yeah, comment down below. What else? The Encounter Critical 3 Kickstarter, 4 or 5 days ago launched. So please back that if you want to. That'd be awesome. VengerCon 2, Electric Boogaloo. That's next July. So if you want to get a ticket for that and attend that convention, that would be awesome. I think that's all I got for today. Okay. Bye bye.